Your President, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, participated in now what is famous as the Royal Tour. And it cannot be denied that when she did that, she was able to demonstrate to the world that there are opportunities in Tanzania. And statistics now demonstrate that Tanzania has attracted many visitors after that tour. And tourism as a sector does offer many opportunities. And when he talked about tourism, he told me, but there is another sector that we don't talk about. What about the hospitality industry? Because when tourists come to this part of the world, they want to eat. And he told me that there is a sense in which even the beef that is eaten here in Arusha, some of it has to be imported. And he said that is an opportunity. When we allow our cows to wander about as if they were antelopes, there is a sense in which we can improve the quality of our cows. Because the world has demonstrated that that is how you improve. A friend of mine who is a chef once told me that many times when you go to different African countries, what is served as meat is actually glorified leather. Because the cows have walked so much that unless you have the teeth of steel, you cannot enjoy them. And he told me, therefore, there is an opportunity in that sector. Beyond that, he talked about accommodation. And accommodation must not be your typical hotels that we know about. He's already adverted to the question of what is now known as Airbnb. These are opportunities. And why is it that we must talk about Arusha? There is a poem that I'm in the business of commending to everybody who cares. It's a poem written by Khalil Gibran, a Lebanese. The poem is Fear. And he says in summary that when the river approaches the ocean, the river fears of losing itself. And then it recognizes as it moves towards the ocean that it cannot go back. It must proceed. And it does. And when it gets into the ocean, it discovers that it did not actually disappear, but it became part of a larger thing. Arusha is that river. It is a river that belongs and ends up in an ocean called Tanzania. So that when we are talking about the opportunities in Arusha, we are by extension talking about the opportunities in Tanzania. Tanzania today has many opportunities. He talked about soda ash. After Magadi soda in Kenya, I believe these are the largest deposits of soda ash for the moment anywhere in the continent of Africa. And that is an opportunity. And beyond that, there are many other opportunities. I know that Tanzanite does not come from Arusha region, although sometimes we think it does. But Arusha is also the headquarters of the East African community. And I'm told that courtesy of the SGR, there are opportunities for making Arusha have a dry port here. Because if there is a dry port in Arusha, it will serve the entire region. Another opportunity that we don't talk about when we talk about Arusha is conferencing. The fact that we are here, what are the opportunities? How much tea has been drunk? How much coffee has been drunk? How much meat has been eaten? These are things that are happening here in Arusha, and by extension, the United Republic of Tanzania. And it is our duty, we who are assembled here, to spread this gospel. You know, many times when I look at our little economies, because they are little, I ask myself, what can we do to improve them? The GDP of Tanzania, give or take, is slightly under 100 billion United States dollars, depending on who is giving you the statistics, but I'm not too far from the truth. The GDP of Kenya, give or take, about 107. Last week I saw they were claiming it's 130, but what is the difference? The GDP of Rwanda, not more than 20 billion. The GDP of Burundi is about 5 billion. The GDP of Democratic Republic of Congo, about 43 billion. GDP of Somalia, about 15 billion. And you are talking about a population of nearly 300 million. The power and electricity that we generate, Kenya, about 5,000. Tanzania will possibly generate about 5,000 when the Mwalimu Nyerere is complete. In Rwanda, possibly 2,000. Burundi, about 500. Somalia, about 400. The Democratic Republic of Congo, about 5,000. Compare that with Vietnam, 70,000. And that tells you that there is work to be done. I say this because it is also another opportunity for private-public sector collaboration to ensure that we have power. Because when we talk about industrialization, and my good friend Makonda, I hear you, when you talk about the tire company that was here several years ago. But why would an investor bring the company here when lights, electricity is going to disappear, and when the cost per unit of electricity does not allow for commercialization in a manner that is beneficial? They'll go to China. They'll go to Vietnam. Because the reality of the world is that competition is cutthroat, and throats are actually cut. And that is why you see the Chinese here. They are organized. When I look at the Chinese, they are thinking about the economy of China 100 years from today. Your typical East African company, including your own, is thinking about 5 years. At the very best, 30 years. And I'm saying that when we look at the continent of Africa, Arusha, Tanzania, in the context of Africa, it is incumbent upon us to ask necessary questions. The cabinet ministers are here. I hope that when they have the opportunity to speak, they will not be politically correct. They'll say things as ought to be said. Many times in cabinet, they are too polite to each other. But countries don't change unless you begin to think not outside of the box, but without reference to the box. In 1980, Africans took the decision in Lagos, the Lagos Plan of Action, that we must improve intra-African trade. And let's talk about trade. How many Kenyans visit Tanzania as a tourist destination? You prefer to go to Bali, to Dubai, to see animals in a zoo. How many Ugandans visit Serengeti? Why should we market Serengeti as Serengeti? Masai Mara as Masai Mara? Why can't East Africa be marketed as a single market? And I dare say that if you market East Africa as a single market, within 3 years, we'll have 30 million visitors. So that when I'm in a Manga border, it should take me no more than 20 minutes, not 3 hours. These are the things that I want to hear, that when this particular conference is being talked about, it will have created an environment where we are thinking about how to improve intra-African trade. Last week, there was this spat, for example, between the United Republic of Tanzania and Malawi and South Sudan. Completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. These artificial borders are defining how we respond to trade. Kenyans are importing maize from Brazil, and that maize is not even meant for human consumption, it's for cows. And yet Tanzania is now the largest producer of maize in the continent of Africa. Fact. We are importing cashew nuts. Tanzania is producing cashew nuts. I'm suggesting to us that when we talk about Arusha and we are talking about Tanzania, and Jeff Koinange, I'm very conscious about time, we must ask ourselves this. In the year 2013, we sat in Addis Ababa and came up with Africa Agenda 2063. Beautiful Africa Agenda 2063. We want to have good economies. We want to silence the guns are louder. We want to improve culture. We want to ensure that we have technology. I come here to Arusha, 255. Tanzania. Kenya, 254. Uganda, 256. Rwanda, 251. I'm looking for Wi-Fi after I've flown for 50 minutes in the 21st century. If we want to grow, we must also integrate our systems so that we have one system. We must integrate them because the 21st century and going beyond is about technology. Otherwise, we will be dominated. We will be dominated by little countries. Have you ever wondered why, even in the face of Africa Agenda 2063, intra-African trade is still at below 30%? We have the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which means that we remove tariff and non-tariff barriers. Yet, when Kenyans want to move onions from Tanzania, or tomatoes, or avocado, you still have tariff and non-tariff barriers. I commend you to read a book by Greg Mills, Why Africa is Poor and What They Can Do About It. And in one of the stories, he says how between the port of Mombasa and Kampala, there were 34 roadblocks. You are doing business, 34 roadblocks. And yet somebody who is carrying products from Slovakia to Lisbon in Portugal has no barriers. We cannot do that. So as we talk about the opportunities here in Arusha and the opportunities in Tanzania, in the context of the continent of Africa, it is incumbent upon us to do that which is right. We Africans, we know what is right. But what is the value of knowing what is right without doing what is right? What is the value? If we truly know that in order to enhance our economic development, we must create opportunities. Africa is the youngest continent on earth. 70% of our population is below the age of 25. Where are the opportunities? In agriculture. Africa still imports fish from China. Can you believe it? We import fish from China. We import chicken from Brazil. Can you believe it? We import butter from Denmark. In my hotel room this morning, I was consuming coffee, Nescafe, from Nestle. And then I'm given water called Dasani by Coca-Cola. Can you believe it? Here in Africa. Then we believe that there are no opportunities. Can we not bottle our own water? Does Tanzania not produce something called Africa Fair? Don't we have Kericho tea from Kenya? Why should you have appetite and taste for Lipton from the United Kingdom? There is not a single bush of tea in the United Kingdom unless it's for decoration purposes. They import tea from us and then they convert it into Lipton. Those are opportunities that we are talking about. Even toilet paper, sometimes we import. Even toothpicks. Are there no bamboos here that we can make toothpick? Paul Makonda, you've done a good thing. And the beauty is that you have caused ministers in the government of the Republic of Tanzania United to come here. And the beauty is all of them have gone to school. The question is, has school gone through them? And my beauty is that I know them. And they know what is good and right. So as I conclude, I am suggesting to this audience that there are a number of things that we must give pride of place. Number one, we must recognize that Africa will only grow from village to village. So that if Arusha is to grow, it must start from the village. Then it comes up. There is no other method of growth. And if you doubt me, you go to India. The cottage industries in India. How has India grown? You go to Laos and Cambodia and Vietnam and South Korea as I speak. That is what is happening. You go to China as I speak. So from village to village. The Maasais who are in Serengeti, how are they benefiting? What opportunities are being created for them? And I'm told that there are cooperative societies who are represented here. How are your cooperative societies creating an enabling environment for the people in your village so that they have money in their pocket, so that they are not desperate for the things that improve the quality of their lives? Tourism is waiting. Number two, let us make a solemn vow, Paul Makonda, my friend, that through the activities you are doing, Tanzania and Arusha is not going to import beef from anywhere, including Argentina and other places. If you must import beef, let it be from Botswana. And how can you do that? By improving the quality of the goats and the cows and the sheep that are being reared here. Let us also create opportunities by saying that we are going to use alternative sources of energy. We have the ability on these hills and mountains here to generate energy from wind and solar. We can do that. Those are opportunities. Let us make a solemn vow that if there is a university in this part of Tanzania, there is connection between the university graduate and industry like the Germans do, so that we don't have graduates whose only claim to fame is that they have accumulated many certificates, but they are not useful for purposes of improving the economy of Arusha and by extension the United Republic of Tanzania. I also am urging all of us who are here, wherever we are, let us not make this be a meeting which only discusses things that are already known without having any production and productivity as the legitimate result of this engagement. So that, my good friend Paul, when you have done this kongamano or this forum, let it not be an annual jamboree at which you invite us and ministers, and then you have annual jamborees until the second coming of Christ. No. Let it be that the next meeting will be a monitoring and evaluation. What have we done since we left? And I want to conclude with the East African community. You know, Arusha must thank Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, because the decision to have the headquarters of the East African community here has made you effectively the capital of East Africa. So that conferencing in its own right is an industry that can create opportunities. Did you know that language is an economic product? Language only. Kiswahili as a language, as the lingua franca of the continent of Africa. What can we do with Kiswahili and make it a commodity that is used? Those are the questions that you must ask yourselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, mine, as you Tanzanians would say, ilikuwa ni kuchokoza mada.